College football season is back, and while I personally don't care which team finishes first in whatever system is used for the national championship, the fact remains that the sport affects all the other NCAA athletic programs. Millions of dollars are spent each year at the expense of the other sports so that they can claim to be champions in the program that produces the absolute fewest college graduates. And while many will claim that college football actually makes money for the other sports, the truth is that very few college programs actually do make money, and there's no guarantee that the few that do hand over any sizable amount back to any other department or program within their school. In my last two commentaries covering this topic, I brought up a number of things that I believe the NCAA needs to do if there is to be any hope to restore sanity to college athletics, and now I'd like to go into that a little deeper. Number 1, impose the Knight Commission's recommended requirements on graduation. The Knight Commission on Intercollegiate Athletics continues to beg the NCAA to impose rules where teams that don't graduate a required percentage of players don't get to be in postseason tournaments. I don't remember the exact number I first heard them recommend back in 2001, but I remember a news article that said if those rules were in place, not one college football team that made the bowl game that year would have been eligible. There are a number of colleges out there that do maintain academic standards among their athletic programs. I went to one of them. Imposing such rules would not only elevate academic standards, it would help level the playing field for those colleges that still keep the student in student athlete. The English Premier Soccer League is currently trying to impose rules to ban their clubs from postseason if they don't make money. So why can't the NCAA impose rules to ensure their programs do what colleges are supposed to do, graduate students? Number 2, limit the number of teams per athletic conference and the distance between those schools. The desire to have the biggest and best conference in the nation has led to the concept of having conferences fall completely apart. We already have teams from the Midwest playing in a Northeastern Conference and a school in Texas playing in the Rocky Mountains, and we came very close to many other Texas schools playing in a West Coast Conference. And the number of schools in these super conferences has destroyed any chance of a fairly scheduled season and thus a true conference champion. A limit of 10 schools per conference should be imposed, thus ensuring that every conference has a balanced schedule in not just football but every sport. And all the schools should be limited to a 500-mile radius of each other to greatly reduce travel expenses, preventing student athletes from having to make long-distance plane trips and take away further class time to play supposed conference rivals. Number 3, cap athletic budgets. I've maintained for years that colleges should have a limit on athletic budgets before any other professional leagues need salary caps. If not the total budget, at least how much of that budget goes to one program, like say 10% at the most. This would allow colleges to corral escalating coaches' salaries as well as the need for lavish practice facilities and other amenities that rival major league teams. Will the NCAA ever do any of this? Sadly, it's not likely. And those of us who believe that there's more to life than college football will have to endure more and more football players who could barely score a 400 on the SAT invading our institutes of higher learning while the real student athletes continue to get the shaft.